Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to the Modernize or Die CFML News Edition. Today is January 21st, 2020. Sorry for the little pause there. We had a little technical difficulty as we're trying a few new things today. So we have one new thing. It's Eric Peterson. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, Gavin.
Yeah, no problem. We got a lot of requests, mainly from you, to have you back after the special one we did when we were down in San Diego on site with a client. So glad to have you here.
And it gave me the podcasting bug.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. We have a lot of fun doing it and learn a lot of stuff too. So so glad to have you. Well, apparently, according to Twitter, people that talk too much crap in the front of their podcasts are bad. So let's not do that. Let's get on with the news. So CF Summit East 2020, they announced their dates and some more information about it. So last week they announced that Wednesday, April 22nd will be the one-day conference for CF Summit East in DC, and it's going to be a complimentary. And they will also do a post-conference workshop for the Cold Fusion Specialist Certification. So those of you who didn't get a chance to take it in CF Summit, this may be a chance for you now. So we'll talk about it a little more in the conferences section, but we want to mention that was announced. So pretty exciting to hear that. And then we have an update on CF Camp. So you were at CF Camp last year, and I think they mentioned they were going to try and move it to like May or June to try and make it easier for those traveling. But we've finally got some official, Twitter is official now, apparently. We got some clarification on those dates, and so it looks like May and June is not going to happen.
Right. It looks like we're back into October. We have Wales qualifying for the
UEFA.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah, UEFA European Championship. So Wales soccer team made the European Championship, and so now you can't go in June. So
basically, and if you're wondering why that affects CF Camp, the matches are going to be held in Munich, which is where CF Camp was, and the hotel rates doubled. So we're saving you money.
Yep. So we'll let you know as soon as we know anything more about that, but it sounds like probably September, October is the usual time as the way it's going to be. So that's sad. I was hoping to make more of a summer vacation, go in June for that, but that's the way it is. So cool. And speaking about CF Summit, it sounds like Audis is going to be doing some workshops too. So we announced that we have workshops there. So 2 days prior to the conference, Luis will be leading a 2-day conference there. So I think it's the ColdBox Zero to Hero. He's going to put more of a security spin on it though. So building secure CFML applications. So that sounds like a good workshop. So pretty good to have that coming up pretty soon too, in April. It's already almost end of January. I can't believe it. This year is flying.
Yeah.
So another announcement too is that ITB's 2020 call for speakers is closed. So all of you who waited to the last minute, you missed it.
And all of you who did submit, thank you so much. We've started going through the submissions. There's so much content, and it's hard to pare it down.
Yeah, we had 4 hours on Friday. We're going through. We had 138 submissions from the community, so that's pretty awesome. I mean, there's only like a dozen from Nolan, so I'm surprised that we.
Which I'm pretty sure he did a dozen specifically as a joke to me because I kept teasing them about it. Yeah, so he could have done more.
So but we had CFML content, Docker content, DevOps, cloud, JavaScript testing. We had the HTML, CSS. We had accessibility, and I couldn't believe how many soft skills talks there were. There were a lot of great soft skills talks in there. So, you usually like to throw in a little mix there and put some soft skills in with some harder stuff. But because soft skills are important too. But
so there's going to be some of everything here at Into the Box.
Yep, for sure. So we haven't made any speaker announcements yet. We'll be making those very soon. And just so you know, I'm getting all jazzed up for the podcast edition of the Modernize or Die podcast. So we'll be interviewing Luis. We'll be talking more about the background of Into the Box, why we started it, how long it's been around, and what's to expect if you're going there. We'll be talking to the people who are leading the workshops, which we're going to be announcing pretty soon here as well, once we've finalized them. And then we'll also be speaking to the speakers. So if you got any questions you'd like us to ask the speakers about their session or even about themselves, let me know. And then when we do those interviews, I can make sure to put them on the spot and get some juicy details for you guys. So hit me up on Twitter, gpickin, and let me know what you want me to ask those speakers. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to be busy podcasting a lot here soon. So more great content for you. And hopefully that means when you get there, you'll know exactly what sessions you want to go to.
Yeah, I think it's fun to note, Gavin, that we had the 138 submissions from the community, and just to clarify, that's none of us at Ortus.
Yeah.
We had our sessions as well, so we had a lot of content. It's going to be the best version of this conference yet, so we're excited.
Yeah, I know. I mean, usually we speak for roughly about half the content usually, right? So
Right.
roughly about half the sessions are from Ortus and the other half are from the community, but there was so much great content, like they may even get a bigger percentage this year. So we'll have to see. So look out in your email box if you guys submitted. So, and then have you checked out any of the CF Summit videos, Eric?
Yes. From a vanity perspective, I keep waiting to see when mine goes up to see what picture they chose. Spoiler, it hasn't gone up yet, so I'm still waiting.
Yeah, but the CF Summit 2019 in Las Vegas, those videos are being released, and they've been coming out. A few more came out in the last week, so there's, I think, 19. Last time I checked, 19 videos up on the playlist, and we have a link to the slides and the playlist there in the show notes, so I'll just share that with everybody, just in case. So
really grateful to Adobe for, recording all of those, making them available for those who couldn't make to the conference.
Yeah.
So thank you, Adobe.
And Vicky did a good job. She was running around from room to room to room, switching camera memory cards and everything. So she did hard work, but it looks good. She said she's back from vacation and back on editing, so should be able to get this rolling here. And then last week, in case you missed it, there was a webinar by Rex Sheaf. So he talked about Cold Fusion 2020 and went through and watched the video. And if you missed it, we have a link to the recording so you can go back and watch it. It was pretty interesting. They showed their version of CF Config, which is CF Setup. They showed their version of ForgeBox for modularity in Cold Fusion, which was pretty neat. So now when you install Cold Fusion, you only get the pieces you want, and then basically you'll use the CFPM to download and install those pieces. So if you're not using PDF stuff, you don't have to install it. If you're not using some of the other features, you don't have to install it, and then it just installs the pieces you need. So it's pretty cool.
That CFPM is obviously a nod to NPM, being the Cold Fusion Package Manager.
Yep. And
it looks like it's mainly intended for the engine extensions, like you said, the PDF engine, things like that. So yeah, it's gonna be great to have a smaller footprint out of the box.
Yeah, they were talking how the previous installer was 850 megs, and then they got the new one down to under 250, and they're still, making progress. So they're getting it smaller and smaller, and they're hoping to be down to about 20 to 30 megs or something, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because they're talking about how if you package your Cold Fusion app and everything and upload it, it might be, some of these Docker images are pretty big, but if you think about it, it's pretty hard to get a node package out there with the node modules included for any size under, 300-400 gigs, terabytes.
Just because you install half the internet, don't worry.
Yeah. I was actually backing up my hard drive. I switched my hard drives out this weekend, and I forgot to delete my node modules folders from everything. I probably would have saved myself a day's worth of labor. Dang it.
I know there's some tools out there, some command line tools that will go through and just delete any node modules folder they find, and most of the time when I see people run it, they get back, like 30 gigs of file space.
I'm tempted. So, I might have to do that.
That might be something you need.
Yeah, it would have been useful before I did it. But anyway, so you guys can watch that recording. It's really neat. One cool thing he did say is that he went through all the names of the previous versions of Cold Fusion, and there was Ether and Zeus, and they had a few different ones from CF10, CF11, CF 2016, etc. They haven't got an official name for CF 2020 yet, so he asked us to give him his input, and so I said Cold Fusion 2020 hindsight, because now they're finally fixing all the things they've done wrong and making it bigger or smaller and better in this case. So anyway, if you guys got a name that you want to do, send it out, tag Rex Sheaf and at Cold Fusion, and let them know.
So that's for the official name or for like the code name?
The code name, because they're
okay.
That was the other thing they mentioned too. I should have put this in the notes. But the pre-release program will be live at the end of this month, roughly. So it's getting close to the end of the month, so the pre-release should be ready. If you haven't signed up for it, you still can. You just fill out the SurveyMonkey survey, and you can do that. I will try and grab that and put that in the show notes as well. So cool. So next on our list, some live CF coding. So did you get to watch me and Michael make a fool of ourselves last week?
I have not yet. It is saved in YouTube in my watch later, but I haven't watched it yet.
So Michael Bourne and I were working on basically a little live coding series, and we're going to try and build a little ForgeBox package to help you guys participate in our monthly code challenge. So we're basically building it live, and to be honest, we haven't done much preparation for it, so we're making a lot of decisions live on the air. So it might be a little entertaining, but it may also be a little crazy. So we did that last Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And then we put it up on Michael's YouTube channel. So we have the link here in the show notes, and you can see last week's recording. We're planning on doing another one tomorrow. And so we'll just keep building on top of that and go from there. So as usual, we both learned a little something. We learned a little bit last week about test box as well, and how to add messages to your errors so your tests make way more sense when they fail, which is a good thing. And so tomorrow we're going to keep going with that and build it up a little more. So it was actually really fun. I'm thinking about doing some more. I need to get back into some content box stuff, so I'm tempted to maybe do a little content box live streaming as I build some features or whatnot, because obviously most of our client work we can't live stream. They may not appreciate their internals being shown, but sure. Some of this open source work that we do, we can probably do that. So I was thinking it might be nice to build some little modules. I got a few good ones in mind for content box, and I definitely got a big laundry list of things I want to work on. So
I love this latest trend of live coding, mostly because I like to see how people solve problems when they hit them. Because that's what happens to all of us. And it's easy to think sometimes that there's a bunch of other smarter developers and then us. But when you get to watch somebody on a stream, you see, oh, they ran into this problem, and here's their methodology for solving it. So I love it. Keep them coming.
Cool. Well, we'll see. It might make some useful, but I was talking to one of our Patreon supporters, Gary Knight, today and I told him that it also helps for public accountability. When you say you're going to do something and you're going to work on something live online, you kind of you're held accountable to it. So it's good when you're set some deadlines and everything. So
yeah,
cool. Well, let's start talking about conferences. So as we mentioned earlier, Adobe CF Summit East 2020 was announced. So it looks like going to be April 22nd for the conference, and they said time 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. but time subject to change, which is interesting. But that's going to be at the Renaissance Washington DC downtown hotel. So the cool thing is cost is complimentary.
So if you're in the area, no reason not to go.
Yep, it's just a one-day conference too. So if you are close, I mean, you can travel down, spend the day there. It's gonna be one day. They're announcing speakers later this week. They said. Alicia emailed me, said that they're finalizing all that, and that information should be up on the website. But the idea is, basically just a way to exchange ideas, inspiration, experience among fellow developers. And so it looks like they got a good day planned. I know that a lot of times you have some of the big community members speaking there, so I'm sure we'll get a few of those. And then of course, we mentioned earlier there's workshops as well. So after we have the Cold Fusion Specialist Program, so that's the post conference. That'll be the Thursday, April 23rd, and that's that one does have a cost. So if you get the early bird discount, it's $4.99 for the one day, and then it's $6.99 after the February 29th. So it's a full day certification classroom program. You do actually have homework to do beforehand, so you have to do some preparation, and so you'll work through it. You have to do these on-site test itself as well. It's a little multiple choice questionnaire. I actually helped with the certification at CF Summit in Vegas. So it was a good day, a good day's training. So that's available. And if you guys want, you can actually walk away with your certification right there. So there's more information on it online on the Carasoft website, and you can register as well. And then, as I mentioned, Luis is going to do the pre-conference too. So what do you think is the best thing out of the pre-conference workshops that we do? I mean, these 2-day workshops, I think people really get started, and when they walk away, they can really do something with the training, right?
Right. And a lot of people come and ask us, it's funny, the ColdBox has a bunch of conventions, and we try to stay out of your way and let you build how you'd like. And then we'll have people come right back to us and say, but how should I do it? And so this is a great place to see how, and we keep this constantly updated, how Ortus currently builds an application. And this is a more traditional, server rendered app, sending down views. So you can come see how Ortus does this right now. So.
Yep. And then the cool thing is that Luis can be showing off CB Security, which he released version 2 in October, right before CF Summit Vegas. And so there's some updates in there. But you use ColdBox, use a bunch of the modules out there. Some of the ones we've actually mentioned in our ForgeBox module of the week, and so you guys can see all that there. So it's pretty good. It's going to be April 20th and 21st. And that's basically 9 o'clock till 5:30, and the price for that is $8.99. And I'm going to try and get us a podcast discount here, so you guys can get a discount for listening to the podcast. So we'll give you a promo code. I do not have one finalized yet, so hit me up on Slack, and I can try and get you one there to maybe get you 10% off. Shh, don't tell Luis. So, but that'll be right before the conference. So then after that, so that's in April, and after that, not too long after that, a couple of weeks, we got Into the Box 2020 in May, 6th to 8th in Houston.
And we have an exciting announcement for that.
Yes, we do.
So if you've been to prior Into the Box conferences, you'll know that before the conference, we have a day of workshops. We've had 4 to 6 workshops each of those years. Well, this year, we're going to expand that to 2 days. So you'll be able to choose from, from either a 2-day workshop, one that spans both days, change workshops each day. We'll have a few 1-day workshops. Or if you still just want to come for 1 day, you can choose a 1-day workshop. We're going to have a lot of choices for you there.
Yeah, I'm excited because that was always a problem on the one day before Into the Box. Everyone wanted to take our 2-day trainings that we do at CF Summit, and we're doing it at CF Summit East. And it's like we try and jam it into 1 day, but everybody's heads just hurt and they can't get it all done, and we don't feel like they get enough out of it. So, yeah, so we're probably going to have the 0 to Hero and maybe the Hero to Superhero 2-day trainings. And then, we're going to throw in some of those other ones. So we're not sure which ones yet. So if you have an opinion, let us know. Tweet at us and let us know what ones you want. We're thinking about doing maybe Elasticsearch. We'll do like a BDD testing one. REST APIs are always popular.
Some Docker and containerization.
Yep, and maybe a quick one.
I'd do it if people want to come to it.
Yep, quick and intro to QB. That would be a pretty good one, I think. You could have Sam and Andrew help you with that one, since they're our resident experts in the community, it seems. But yeah, so there's a lot of good options there. We even had a couple of community members offer to run some workshops, so we might have a couple there. I won't tell you till we confirm them, but we're working on finalizing the sessions and that. So hopefully next week we'll have the workshops available. We'll have some pricing in that too. So yeah, I really like the idea of having 2-day workshops. I was jumping up and down for joy when Luis finally got it finalized. So yeah, so if you want to come for 2 days of workshops or just one, you have that option now. So if you're booking travel, make sure you throw an extra day in front of it to get the most out of these trainings. So call for speakers is closed, as we mentioned. We're working on finalizing that, but the early bird, the super early bird special, is still available until we announce the sessions. So we'll be announcing the sessions the next week or two, but if you book now, you can save an extra $200 off your ticket. So we've had a few tickets, creeping in every day. So we're already selling them already. So those super early birds, they'll come no matter what, no matter who's speaking or talking about whatever. So we appreciate those guys. So thank you very much, or gals too, I guess, guys and gals. So we're looking forward to that. It's a fun time. I like that conference, not just because it's ours, but I like all the great content in it. I've been going through the 2019 videos too, watching all the ones I missed. So pretty good. And we have a question. So David asked, if you bought the early bird, he's asking, does that include the 2-day trainings also? So basically, since we changed the process, we'll reach out, talk to you, and we'll figure it out with you. So don't worry if you're buying the early bird and it says 1. So we'll reach out to you, David. Like I said, there's several people who bought tickets already that have the all access passes. So we're going to reach out and talk to you about it and figure out what works best for you. So we'll take care of you. Don't worry. Those people who are, buying before we even announced everything, you're our super fans. We got to make sure we keep you happy. So we will. Don't worry about that. Okay. So there's a few other conferences. Have you been to any other conferences outside the CFML world, Eric?
Back in the day, previous job, I went to a couple JavaScript ones. When jQuery was big, went to a jQuery one, but
really?
haven't in a long time.
Okay. Well, we have a few listed here for those you want to get out to. So DevNexus in Atlanta in February, ViewConf is in March in Austin, and then DockerCon is going to be in June in Austin. So those are 3 of the ones we recommend, but there's a lot of other great ones out there, obviously. And if you go to comps.tech, you can find out a whole bunch. Search for your field or in your location, see what's coming close to you.
Looks like Austin's a hot spot for conferences this year.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's get into the blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. So this one's hot off the press today. Matthew Clemente, sizing your Redis cache for sessions, a quick lesson learned. So I don't know if you had a chance to read it because I literally just came on before we went online. But
I have not.
Basically, he said that embarrassingly enough, the solution was really obvious once you found it, but most solutions are obvious once you've found them out. But he was getting weird errors from Redis and didn't know why. But basically, make sure that your Redis cache is big enough for what you're storing in it, because otherwise you get some strange errors. And I think he was just getting like connection reset errors. It was basically because he was trying to put something too big into the session, cache. So yeah, basically, don't try and put stuff too big in something that's too small.
And this is with the Lucy Redis extension? Is that right?
He actually used it, whether you're using it for the Lucy Redis extension or the Adobe Fusion external cache or the Autis Redis extension, So I think he's worked with all of them. And obviously it's just an issue where, Redis doesn't know how to handle it and just blows up rather prettily. So but yeah, so if you guys are using Redis, definitely recommend you read that one. But that's the summary of that one there. So we also have the blog post about the building secure MVC Cold Fusion applications at the pre-conference at the CF Summit East. So we already talked about that, so we'll skip over, but there's the blog post if you want to find out more information and how to register. We also had a blog post about Into the Box Latin America, so we had a little summary there. So you didn't make it. You're like me. You left behind this time, but
well,
sounds
probably
like
every time because my Spanish is back in high school.
I never even did that much. My Spanish is I just basically absorbed Esmeralda's Spanish over the years when I worked with her in a small office. So pretty terrible. But yeah, so it sounds like it was a huge success. It was really popular. they had a lot of real positive feedback from everyone there. So there's a blog post out there on the Audis website if you want to read more about that. So cool. The next one I might be a little biased, but I think it was a pretty good blog post.
Yeah, it was. Gavin this week published 30 plus ForgeBox packages of the week from the 2019 Modernize or Die podcast. So these lovely ForgeBox modules we share with you every week are collected in one place.
Yep, so we have 30 of them there. Actually, I think it's 33 because I think we did Hyper twice. Because it's so good we did it twice.
It is that good.
Just so everybody knows, Hyper is one of Eric's modules, so he obviously thinks it's that good. But yeah, so it's a good list there. It's up on the Audis website. Also put it up on the Adobe coldfusion.adobe.com portal as well. I know a lot of people like being able to read stuff there, so I'm trying to post more stuff there as well. So, but go check that out. It gives a nice place to list all the modules, and like I said, most of those are the ones we use all the time. So, pretty cool. We did mention earlier that CF Camp is not going to take place in May and June, so we have the tweet there if you want to go and harass them some more about getting a date somewhere else. And if you want to make jokes about Wales playing soccer and making it, you can do that too. And then we also had a tweet from James. James actually had a pretty busy week tweeting.
Yeah, I saw both of these. And I love this first one where he shared that he created his first GitHub Cold Fusion project and posted it to ForgeBox. So James is mentioned he's not using ColdBox, but ForgeBox is the CFML code community, and it was great to see that. And a couple people chimed in. And
yeah, Matt Clemente and Tony Junkies, both big supporters of the ForgeBox ecosystem now, and they jumped in to support him and say good job. And yeah, it's pretty neat. I mean, yeah, he mentioned that ReaForge is gone, and it's true. Brad did download all the code from ReaForge and has it stored away, but most of the useful stuff is already on, ForgeBox, and if not, he can find it. But yeah, I mean, everyone gets scared when they see a box and think they have to use ColdBox, but like everybody tries to remind them, most of the things in ColdBox can be used without ColdBox. Most of the packages, most of the tools, like a lot of people use CommandBox and they don't have to use anything. I mean, people use CommandBox for non-Cold Fusion stuff because it's just a great way to run wires, But anyway, so good to see James there. And yeah.
Welcome to ForgeBox.
Exactly. It's funny though, his first GitHub Cold Fusion project. I wonder what he usually uses, I guess, outside of GitHub world.
GitLab and Bitbucket are very popular, especially before GitHub had free private packages.
Yeah, for sure. So. But yeah, another tweet he had too was kind of interesting that we've been talking about Code Wars, right? We have this coding challenge and we've been trying to harass Code Wars to give us Cold Fusion support. Yeah. And
to remind you, Code Wars is a site that lets you do some practices on Code Challenge, like code katas, and they support a few languages, Cold Fusion not being one of them.
So in our little coding challenge for this month, we'll talk about shortly, we're trying to encourage you guys to sort of do a little tweet storm and harass them a little bit about adding CFML. But James happened to see a blog post that they tweeted about, and they said the first website. They basically shared a blog post about the best personal software engineering blogs on Qualify.io.
Guess who was number one on the list?
One of our very own Cold Fusion developers, Ben Adele. So he was top of the list. The very first one on the list was a Cold Fusion developer running a Cold Fusion website too, by the way. And so James tweeted, the first website that you recommend is from a Cold Fusion developer. Any chance of including CFML on Code Wars so CFML developers can challenge one another? So I thought that was pretty neat. So everybody should go and like and retweet this tweet right now. I'm going to share it. Everybody listening, go do it. If you can't find it, go at Code Wars and find the response to that blog post from James. It's a good one, and hopefully they can add it to it. So yeah, it was pretty interesting though because they were trying to spotlight personal blogs, personal software engineering blogs, and yeah, Ben Adele, number one. See, Ben, it's not just us that loves you. Speaking of Ben, he had a few blog posts this week.
The Ben corner.
Yep, I almost decided to make a bin section, but no, we'll keep it clean and just one blog section. We got enough sections already, so sorry, Ben. But I was thinking the image would be pretty cool too. Ben doing his thumbs up. Anyway, so first, well, it's not the first, but the listing here that Ben had was using a file upload or the request body to overcome slow processing of a large post in Lucy. And so this follows up from a previous blog post he did, which is next on our list. It was basically that Lucy CFML appears to incur a request cloning cost when spawning CF thread tags. And so what it basically does is it actually duplicates the request and then processes it on from there. And that the good thing about that is you have all the information you need in the thread to be able to use it. The bad thing is if you have a really big form post, that content is basically duplicated. And so in the blog post he shared how, if you have, maybe like a blog post and it's a huge old post, 20, 30, 100,000 characters or whatever, when you spawn a thread, you have to basically duplicate that. And so it was pretty expensive. And so Joe Gooch suggested to him that he should send the content through as a file upload instead. And so by doing that, you don't have to worry about the cloning cost. So pretty interesting blog post about two pieces of it. So the way it works in Fusion Reactor, you can see how it was working, but then also, how the file upload got around it. So there's two blog posts there. Pretty neat. I like this stuff, and I'm just curious now, like, when has that bit me and I haven't realized?
Right.
So pretty interesting.
I also love that in there, what does he say? He installed Fusion Reactor, and that's how he figured it out. And Fusion Reactor is not like sponsoring the podcast or anything.
I know, but we should probably talk to them.
So good. Whenever something's slow. In fact, I saw this on the CFML Slack to take us on the tangent. Somebody talking about like, oh, I'm using ORM and my SQL's slow. And I think it was John Wish said, well, unless you're actually looking at the performance with a tool like Fusion Reactor, you have no idea what's slow. So
it's true too. I mean, it really is. Yeah, I was debugging some issues last week, and yeah, I mean the queries were a certain speed, but there was just a huge delay in the front of it, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And yeah, I traced it down to something else because Fusion Reactor basically just proved all of my assumptions completely wrong. And yeah.
And $99 gets you a developer license for a year. That money will save so much time. So.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. That's less than $10 a month, and at any hourly rate, if that saves you an hour a month, pays for itself.
Yeah.
And if you've got a good relationship with your boss, then someone else will pay for it for you.
So, you have a boss.
Yeah. If not, then you can write it off.
There you go.
So. We also had a blog post from Charlie talking about how to solve failing API URLs in 2016 in CF11. And so this was an interesting one. So with the API manager tools versus the API settings and ref settings, there was a bit of a conflict, I guess, not in 2018, but in CF11, CF 2016. If you have the API manager running, it instantly takes over the route/API. And so if you had a Callbox module and you had a module named API and you're running it on CF 2016, those routes wouldn't work. And that's because basically the API manager takes that over from the servlet level, I believe. And so this blog post talks about your options, either renaming your API module to something else or configuring the service not to run if you're not using the API manager, or to try and rename that. And so Charlie, as usual, gives a nice thorough explanation of how that works and how to get around the issue there. Cool. We also have another blog post from Gregory Alexander. So he's been working on that Galaxy blog. So he gives a winter update and a roadmap of what he's been working on and where he's going. And so the description here for what is Galaxy Blog says, Galaxy Blog is the most modern and functional open source Cold Fusion blog in the world. It's a free open source Cold Fusion blog platform, has HTML5 interface, and is beautifully designed a responsive site that works flawlessly on desktop or mobile. So that makes me want to go and make Content Box better, because
I was going to say, shots fired, Gavin.
Oh, I know, but yeah. So obviously, I work with Content Box. I use it all the time. It's a Audis product, but we want to support the community, and it's nice to have another blog there. We've always had sort of Mirror versus Content Box versus Build Your Own, and so now there's another one out there. And obviously, there's pluses and minuses for everything, but he's really focusing on some of the Google SEO stats and everything. So I really enjoyed seeing what he's doing there and everything, and so it's neat, and so it's good to see that. And like I said, fires a shot and makes me want to do a little more. So maybe I should do some live coding on Content Box and show people what it can do and make it better too, because we can definitely make it better. There's a lot of things I want to improve on it, but yeah. So if you guys are looking for a blog, go check it out. I think it's based on Blog CFC, and he's improved it and made it better, and done a lot of work on the UI end of it.
It's so great that in open source, especially, that there doesn't have to be like a winner. It's I think back when I first started contributing to open source, I actually was working on the Atom Cold Fusion syntax, because I was trying to use the Atom editor. It had some syntax issues, and I was learning and didn't really know what I was doing. But one day I had a line dropped from John Berquist, who is the developer behind the Sublime Text Cold Fusion plugin. And he said, "Hey, I noticed you've been working on this. I don't know if this will help, but here's a bunch of work I've done on Sublime Text that you might be able to pull over." And it did work, and it made the plugin faster and better. And it was just neat to see that it wasn't this like, I want people to come use Sublime Text in my plugin. It was just this, let's learn from each other, and everybody gets better, and they can use the tool that they like better.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I agree. It's nice. I mean, like Framework 1, obviously we want you to use ColdBox, but there's still a bunch of people using Framework 1, and we're still trying to help. There's even a session about ColdBox and Framework 1 at Into the Box, one of the submissions that we're looking at there too. We got to make it better, and like you say, if we work together, everyone can win, right? It's not a total, they call it a total sum game or something,
Yeah,
I forget the term, but yeah, I mean, basically we can keep building and we can make everything better. We don't have to, if I win doesn't mean that you're losing or lose something out of it. But anyway, so very cool. So yeah, I'm definitely going to check out more of his stuff. I keep an eye on Gregory. Don't worry about it. He listens too. So zero sum game. That's what Scott told me. Zero sum game. Oh, just a note too about Charlie's blog post. He mentioned that it does not matter if you have the API manager running or not too. That's a big difference with the API piece. So that's interesting. So yeah, the API bug, or not the bug, but the clash, whether it's running or not, it can still take over that route. So cool. Speaking of Fusion Reactor, looks like we have a blog post from them, or actually a guest post on their blog from Thorben Jansen. So this one I need to read for sure, because I don't understand stack traces in Java, and this is telling me this is how you're going to understand them. So yeah, if you're using Fusion Reactor, you'll see stack traces a lot, and they're really useful. But my problem is that I don't know much about them. I usually say, Brad, come help me, because Brad usually is the one diving into those. So, but yeah, it's a textual representation of your log file and console output and everything, and it breaks down components, and so you'll see which tags, which files are calling which files, and where it was called from. But then it goes deeper from Cold Fusion into the Java side, and so this blog post sounds like it's going to help us understand it. Like I said, I need to read that one fully and really pay some attention to that. So definitely need to do that. So I'm glad to see that out there.
The next one we have up is a tweet from Vicky Ryder. This makes me happy being a Twitter guy. In years past at Cold Fusion Summit in Vegas, there's been a hashtag CF Summit, sometimes with the year, sometimes not. There's been some unofficial ones. But Vicky said that she believes the official hashtag for the Adobe Cold Fusion Summit will be ACF Summit from now on. No years, no locations, and nobody will think we're Cloud Foundry.
Yeah, well, it's not just Cloud Foundry. There's a whole bunch of them. But yeah, apparently there's like a bazillion CF Summits.
So,
But yeah, Cloud Foundry is a big one, and yeah, they usually do steal our Twitter feeds, so pretty good.
so that's hashtag ACF Summit will
Yep,
be for the upcoming and future Cold Fusion Summits.
yep. So in the East and the West, and India too, probably. So cool.
Yeah.
We
One
also
hashtag to rule them all.
exactly. So Alicia also tweeted this week. So she actually sent out a poll about happy hours or breakfast for the roadshow. So I've been lucky enough to go to a couple of the Adobe roadshows, and we've had breakfasts in the past. But they're wondering if it's easier or better for people to make a happy hour after work, a 5 to 7, or is it easier to make a breakfast 9 to 11? So some people's schedules might be more flexible. Some people's bosses may let them go. Others might not, so they may have to go after work. So she just sent out a poll to see what people are thinking. So,
Did you answer the poll, Gavin?
yes, I did. I like breakfasts because I don't want to drive to LA or anything and like between 5 and 7 at night. So I'd rather go in the morning when everyone's at work already and I can get home before the traffic kicks me butt. So go answer that poll. But I understand if it was like local 5 to 7 happy hour or whatever would be pretty much better because then you take time afterwards and talk more or whatnot. But 9 to 11 is a little tougher for some people sometimes. So. But yeah, what about you? What would you do? What would you prefer?
I don't think there's a road show anywhere near Utah, but I go for breakfast. I'm not much of a happy hour guy, so it's loud, hard to hear people. Breakfast seems a little more calm to me, easier to talk.
Yeah, and the ones that we went to, there's, a small group, 10, 20. A couple of years ago, there was one that was like 50 or 60 people. But yeah, they're usually pretty small and, intimate and, it's kind of nice. You can ask a lot of questions and, meet a few of the Adobe people. Alicia's usually there with a couple other Adobe reps. So, definitely fun and it's good. And yeah, you get some good breakfast and, it's always good to pick their brains. I always harass them about all the questions that Audis wants answered. So I'm not sure if Alicia's happy to see me or not sometimes. But yeah, so cool. Well, so next we're on to the coding challenge of the month. And again, this is where we're basically this month harassing Code Wars so we can get CFML added to the list of languages on their site. So we want to basically have you do a couple of things. If you email info@CodeWars, ask them to add CFML or Cold Fusion to their list of languages on their site, CC Gavin at AutoSolutions.com, so I know you did it. And then we need you to tweet that you love Code Wars, but ask when are they going to add CFML or Cold Fusion to the list. And then make sure you put the hashtag Modernize or die in there so we can see it. And then if you see anybody else doing this, please retweet it. And please go and hit James's tweet where he's harassing them and do the same thing. So if you do those three things, you'll be in the drawer to enter. You'll be entered into the drawer for a $25 gift card on Amazon. So you guys can buy some little goodies to make your office better. But, Code Wars is pretty cool. If you guys are using JavaScript or whatever, I definitely recommend go check it out. It's a pretty neat little thing where they basically give you a little problem. They ask you to solve it by filling in the contents of a function. You run some tests to make sure your function does what it's supposed to do. And when you're happy, you submit it. And if it passes all the tests, so it meets all the criteria, then it basically gets added to the list of solutions. And it's kind of interesting. You can see, 50% of the people solved it the same way you did. Or 25 people did this. And you can see the most, unique answers, the most clever answers, because you can go through and see everyone's solutions. And you can tag them. You can say, "That's a clever solution. That's stupid." That's ingenious. And so you can sort of see. And I like that because I just solved the problem, and now I get to see how everybody else solved it. And like you said before, it's interesting to get to other people's minds. Like, how did they solve it? Because sometimes the stuff people come up with is pretty crazy to me. I'm like, that's pretty damn smart.
Yeah. It is interesting that you do get some people on there, if I remember, playing code golf.
Yep.
Which is the idea of how can I solve this in the fewest number of characters?
Exactly. And some people say lines, some people say characters.
I don't know. That becomes kind of hard, but there's also really readable solutions. So
yeah, and that's the thing is, I always like the JavaScript stuff because it gets me more in the functional programming mindset. People use a lot more of the mapper juice and everything, ternary operators, etc. So even though they don't offer Cold Fusion yet, the script syntax for Cold Fusion is pretty dang close to JavaScript, and so I learned a lot of things doing that, and we enjoy it. So there are other ones out there, but I like Code Wars. They'll have a leaderboard and everything. So the goal is that we can get accepted, and then we could start doing them there. So our coding challenge of the month might just be one of theirs, and then we can see who's done it and everything, and pick a winner that way. And maybe we pick the craziest solution or the smartest solution or whatnot. So for this month, please email info@codewars.com and CC me, and then tweet and retweet, and hopefully they listen, and we'll get CFML added to Code Wars. And then the live coding that me and Michael are doing, are working on building a ForgeBox module that'll allow us to do our very own Code Wars-like thing, but inside of Command Box. So we're working on that, and tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, we'll be doing another episode trying to get that ready for you for February. So thanks to everyone who has already done those emails and tweets. You're added to the list, and we'll use Rafflebox to pick a winner at the end of the month. Cool. So next on our list, find a job. So hopefully most of you guys have got jobs, and it's nice and safe and secure, and you're happy. But for those of you that are looking, getcfmljobs.com is a Cold Fusion site that basically scrapes other job sites and pulls down a lot of Cold Fusion jobs, and lists. Right now they have 28 Cold Fusion positions from 21 companies across 17 locations in 5 countries. So the two recent ones this week, we have a full-time Cold Fusion architect at Rockville, Maryland, in the United States, and then we have a full-time software engineer Cold Fusion at Pune, Maharashtra, India. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that one. So a couple of jobs available, and then there were jobs listed from previous weeks as well. So if you go to getcfmljobs.com, you can check that out. So since we got the main module man, Eric Peterson, I think we should let him pick the ForgeBox module of the week this week.
Ooh, okay. Let's see. I'm going to go with, and you're going to laugh at the pronunciation, but I always call it string in my head. But then Gavin's laughing because it is spelled STR. Like when you go to command box, you do box install STR. Don't ask. I pick weird names sometimes. Anyways, this is a collection of some string helper functions that are pretty common. I use in a lot of projects, and also some that were just really nice to package up. For instance, it has a pluralize or a plural function, so you can pass it in. I'm looking at the docs here. Entity. I use this in Quick, so that's where entity comes from, and it comes back entities spelled correctly. If you pass in tree, it comes back, but trees. It can also take a optional count, so you can use it in line and say, please pluralize this unless the count is 1, and then it returns the same 1. So other things, it has a starts with, ends with. It can convert strings to different cases, so you can take a string and make it a slug or a camel case, or capitalize all the words in the sentence or just the first. It does a lot of those. Maybe that you have a regex that you have in your snippets, but in the library form. So
I like the Studley one. Or the camel. Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, check it out. It's like I said, if you use Quick, you have string installed. That's what lets us pluralize the tables by default. So if you say I have a user entity, it looks for a users table. If you said you had a goose entity, it would look for a geese table. So that's kind of fun.
So how do you do that? How do you do? Is there a Java library?
Yeah, it's a Java library. I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say.
You don't have to either. Just install the module.
Cool.
I did look into it. There's a lot of interesting things. I think it was called like an inflector. Yeah, it gets deep. If you want to, a morning of Wikipedia reading, you can go ahead and start Googling for that.
That's why we have people like you and the creator of the Java library, so we don't have to. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
So.
And if other people have some string helper functions they find very useful that you want to pull request, I'd love to see them. So
that's cool.
It's not just for Quick. It's used in a bunch of places. One place I like to use it is when for instance, we talked about the Galaxy blog earlier. I've used it in some examples where somebody enters the title, and I want to create a unique slug, but it needs to have certain characters, have the dashes. And I can call this slug function to just convert whatever case they had to lowercase with dashes in between. So
cool.
Things like that.
Yeah, I have a bunch of these randomly here, there, and everywhere, so it'd be good to put them together and package them up. Good thinking. Yeah. A little bit of dry code there.
So that's string spelled STR on ForgeBox.
Cool. Okay, so next on our list,
the VS Code package.
Yep, so you had one, which I actually heard about when you told me about it today. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, that's the one I wanted to do. I just forgot I wanted to do it. It's so new.
This is a good one for you with your screencasting going on. It's called Cloak. It's done by John Papa. If you go on Twitter with him, he has a thread where he got the idea to make this. But the idea is in environment files, you can have your secrets hidden, but the key's still there. So an environment file, you're usually putting the key and the secret value you don't want in source control. Well, when you're streaming, if you show that, all of a sudden you need to change every secret key that was on that page because anybody can pause and steal it. So this will hide the values by default so that when you open up your .env file, it just shows the keys. You don't have to worry about people grabbing the value from you.
Yep, and that's useful if you present on stage, stream on Twitch or YouTube, or just do screencasts of your code. And that's really useful. And that's another good reminder too. If you have that stuff in your code somewhere, pull them out to an environment variable. Use the .env module that you created, which we've talked about before, and then you can use the environment variable files as well. And then this will work for you. So VS Code Cloak. It's pretty neat. And John Papa does a lot of cool stuff. So
I think you've had another one of his extensions. You did Peacock one week,
yeah,
right?
Peacock, which I think he's suing NBC for the Peacock streaming service that used his name. Just kidding. But yeah. So yeah, John Papa's got a lot of cool stuff and pretty neat. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna get that one up and running. So tomorrow, and Michael Bowen, if you're watching, you should probably do this as well. Although I don't think we have too many secrets yet in our little system, we may want to add some. So pretty cool. And then you did mention that's for .env files, and you have to make sure that the type of file in the bottom right hand corner is set to .env, right?
Right. Yeah, I noticed that when I installed it, my .env files were set to load as properties, like Java properties file, and that did nothing. So there's another package. It was the top one in the VS Code extensions for .env support. Yep. And then I just made sure all my .env files use that.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, too, that gives you some extra color highlighting as well. So, and then just a note here, Charlie's said that he's noticing that links that I post show up here as hyperlinks where his do not. It seems odd. And to be honest, Charlie, you might need to have them moderated. A lot of times, YouTube, when you post a link to stop spam, it actually says that this link needs to be moderated. But it doesn't pop up and tell us that they need to be moderated, which is it's a bug, I think, in the YouTube stream software. Because what it should do is post and say, hey, would you like to post this? But I think I have to make you approved. So what I might just do, Charlie, and some of the other people that post a lot here, is I'll approve your accounts, and then that should allow you to actually submit, links and that type of stuff. So sorry about that. Yeah, I don't even see them, Charlie, unfortunately. So that's pretty annoying. But I will see if I can change the settings and do something where we can do that better. So my apologies there. But we have noticed it. That's why Brad can't post links either. He has to log in his orders to do it. So yeah. So, well, with that said, we had a pretty busy week, and with all these new announcements coming out here, we should have speakers for Into the Box coming soon, workshops coming soon, and then we should also see stuff like CF Summit East stuff being announced, and hopefully we'll have some dates soon for CF Summit West and also CF Camp. So a lot to look forward to. But before we go, we should thank our Patreon sponsors. So, Eric, do you want to try?
Yes.
Come on, can you do it?
I see if I've been listening close enough. All right, we thank you so much for being our sponsors on Patreon. To the following people: Andrew Davis, Brian White, Carl von Stetten, Da Lee, Dan Card, Daniel Garcia, David Bellinger, Dieter Lesnicki, Dom Bellamy, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Jan Yannick, Jeremy Adams, John Farrar, Jordan Clark, Joseph Lamery, Laxma Titrahadi, Matthew Clemente, Richard Herbert, Sam Knowlton, Scott Steinbeck, VJ, and Yogesh Mathur.
Cool, well done. Yeah, and they said you might have pronounced them better than me. I don't know. I guess we'll never know. We had a couple people actually reach out and tell us how to spell them, so that was good. I guess everybody else, either they're not listening or we're doing a good job. So
yeah, we'll start adding the phonetic spelling for their names to the show notes.
So yeah, for sure. So cool. Well, thank you everybody for listening, watching, and Eric, thanks for joining us. And
absolutely,
you have fun.
Yes, yeah, I'll come back anytime you want me.
Cool. So we'll try and mix it up a little more and give everybody a bit of a break so they can do some work. But I know that in a couple of weeks' time, Eric, myself, and Brad are all going to be on site down in San Diego. So we might have to do a special podcast then. So I'm not sure if we might have a special time for that. We'll announce it then. But yeah, we might have a 3-person in person. Could be kind of crazy.
That might be too much. Brad, me, and you at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll let you guys do it, and I'll just be the behind-the-scenes director. We'll see. So, anyways, thanks very much for joining us, and you guys have a great week.
See ya.
Bye. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernizeordie.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.